And this is the review of the Transformers War for Cybertron Trilogy Kingdom Leader Class Ultra Magnus. So here he is. So for this review, there will be a bit of content to cover. So I thought let's do it a bit more methodically as opposed to how I usually do it. So I'll start with the base robot mode, then move on to the vehicle modes, and then to the big Magnus mode. Aside from that, I'd like to cover heavily on comparisons, just because this mode was used before on with this Magnus and in this Prime. I'd like to highlight those and how it compares, as well as how he compares with the recent Studio Series 86 figures, as well as the recent Kingdom figures. So yeah, let's go to it. So starting off, let's look at the box. This is your standard Kingdom box. Nice image of the armored up Magnus. As you can see, it's basically a render of the toy itself. You can see how the armor combines there. It even has the gaps and all that. So yeah, nice image of the vehicle mode, which this angle is not obvious, but the visible hand syndrome is there as well. At the back, you can see an image of Magnus in robot mode, his base robot, base vehicle, as well as the combined vehicle. Autobot symbol there. He is figure number 20 in the line, Kingdom 20. And of course, your standard Kingdom image there. He also comes with your card. This one is Megatron. It's hard to see because it's a hologram. And you might have seen this before, but for the benefit of those who haven't, underneath is your Gladiator Megatron. Hard to see. Yep. And also it does come with your requisite War for Cybertron instructions, which, as per always, is very clear, easy to follow. Okay, so first off, before we do the comparisons of the robots, I wanted to show you differences in terms of the accessories. So this is the gun that came with Siege Magnus, while this one is the one that came with Kingdom. So as you can see, molding is exactly the same. They even did both on the same red plastic, but this one is actually colored gunmetal, while this one is colored in silver. So I guess this was more of your mileage may vary. You might prefer gunmetal over silver, or the other way around. I personally prefer gunmetal. But in the end, it doesn't really impact decision whether you want to get one or the other. I think it's basically the same. The other one I wanted to show you was the shoulder cannon. So this is classic Ultra Magnus. He always has this. But as you can see, the Siege one is a lot more detailed, and it's going to be a same theme across the review. You'll see the Siege Magnus will have all of his panel details and all that, while the Kingdom Magnus is a little less detailed. I guess they're going more for the cartoon look. But yeah, that's just how I see it. So I thought this will be the same piece, but no, it's different. From the side, this one is a little bit more squarish, looking more like an actual missile. This one is flat, so I don't know what they're going for there, but yeah, different. And starting with Magnus in his base robot mode, looking all heroic. I really like how this one came out. To be honest, I was mostly excited with the base robot when it first came out, just because I thought the figures were very similar. Looking at it now, I can see all of those minute differences that I did between those two figures, which I'll highlight as we go, making me love the armored up mode more and more. But first off, looking at this guy, remove the gun. He is what you'd expect for a white Optimus Prime core bot for Ultra Magnus. So you can hear the heavy ratchets on the legs. So yeah, I'd say proportion wise, he is a bit of on the dad bod side, similar to the core bot for Galaxy Prime. But otherwise, it's a nice looking white robot. I can imagine myself carrying this around, without the the other armor pieces as a like a pocket prime. It's not too bad. Now, the main reason I think the proportions are a bit off is because of the truncated ab piece here, the grill of the truck, and that's because half of the grill is actually on the back of the figure for some reason. I guess it might be because of how thick that piece is on the original Magnus, and they had to keep it that thick to maintain the engineering. But yeah, now since I brought him out, let's have a comparison of these two. So as you can see, there's a lot of reused parts. So the arms, the legs, even these shoulder pieces are the same. Let's check the heads. And the heads look like they're the same as well. So I think mainly it's the torso that they've changed. Of course, at the back you'll see a bit more changes. So in terms of the proportions, I really like the proportions on this guy, how it's, you know, tapered on the waist and all that, while this guy is a little bit on the dad bod side. And that's mainly because I think they had to keep it the design as such to make him more like an earth mode truck, while in this one they're not really hampered by a design restriction. So the look is a little bit more freeform on this one in terms of their decision. Now from the side, you can see the wheels are different, and we'll see that more in the vehicle mode. But I think the design of the wheel for the Siege looks more like something that will run on metal floors, while this one looks like they're rubber tires. So yeah, nice attention to detail there. They could have used the same wheels, but no, different. Now from the back, there are a bit more differences. Of course, this backpack is different, and that's because this is the front of both truck modes. So they have different truck modes, they have different backpacks, and they have changed this the back of the crotch piece as well. And that is for, let's see, that is more for the vehicle mode's benefit, and you'll see that later on. So as you can see, this one has that gap, this one covers up that gap, and the gap on the truck mode of this one is a lot more minimized. And of course, the last change is the coloration. So not only does this one have no battle damage to speak of, but this one is actually more of a pure white color as opposed to this one, which is off-white. So yeah, really nice. Now, just for comparison's sake, let me bring in the core bot for Galaxy Prime. And as you guys may or may not know, these three guys share the same basic body mode. Although this guy's the only one that looks heroic, these ones look like they've been in quarantine for a bit long. And of course, I wanted to show you how he looked beside two of the Optimus Primes that we've got. That is Siege, and here he is with Earthrise Prime. So you can see how he stacks up with the two of them. So he's a little bit shorter, but for all intents and purposes, they will look good side by side together. Now, transforming him to vehicle mode is very simple, as you'd expect from this mode. So first off, we press this forward to free up this backpack so that it can go down. Press that all the way forward. Then we open up the shoulders. That allows us to open up the front. Move the head in. Tab these back in place. And this time we turn this all the way around. Then these ones, you tab those tabs on those slots at the back. And make sure that one So you can see there is a slight tab there that will rest in this gap. Make sure that's there. Now you can feel free to turn this around if you prefer the hands to be less obvious, although it's not gonna help by much. Fold up the heel spur, and then what we do is see those tabs on the crotch and that hole there. So we just fold that up and then make sure that is tabbed there, and then we tab together the feet. So yeah, that's Ultra Magnus in his truck mode. So you can see this is a very basic Optimus Prime truck, as you'd expect. He does have the visible hands, which is a theme for this mode. He has those clear windows, which is very different from the Siege one. We'll demonstrate that later. But yeah, really nice. I think aside from the hands, the only other complaint I have is having those smokestacks there. I know the Siege version had that limitation that they had to have the smokestacks there just because of how the trailer connected, but this one shouldn't have that same restriction. So if they move those smokestacks somewhere here, it would have been a lot better. So let's compare him with the other two versions of this mode. So here he is with the Siege version. As you can see, very different as well. All of those changes are just, you know, holdovers from the robot mode as well. So this one you've seen already in the robot mode. So yeah, but basically the same mode. Now I did mention how this one handles the gap a lot better. So there is still a gap, but as you can see, the gap is a lot minimized because of this ladder, as opposed to this one where it's just a big gapping hole. So let me bring in the third use of the mode, or second rather, which is the Galaxy Prime. So yeah, just to give you an idea how they look side by side together. And of course, we should look at him with Earthrise Prime as well. So as you can see, very similar look, but this guy is a lot taller. So like I said previously, I think the fact that the Siege one had the very thick bumper, they had to do it in some way for this one, and that meant that his torso is shorter, you know, elongated as well. So this one looks a lot taller, at least taller than it needs to be. But yeah, about the same length though as Earthrise Prime. So yeah, now let's quickly transform him into his combined vehicle mode. So you'll see that his transformation to combined vehicle mode is very similar to the original version. So we'll just briefly go through that. So these are the other parts, and we can go through those parts in detail when we try and combine the robot mode, but we'll do it slowly. So first off, the feet, very similar to the Siege version. You just extend it. Now one thing I wanted to show you, if you have this toy already, look at the panel, this particular panel. There is a shape there that looks like an Autobot symbol, but it doesn't have it. So I did have some spare sticker sheets I got from, so this is from Toy Hacks, but this sheet came from my membership with the Transformers Club in Australia. So if you have this particular sticker sheet, I used that one. So that one is the perfect size for it. Yep. And this is on both legs. So yeah, going back, unfold that panel, do the same on this one. So let's unfold this. Right. There you go. And then this one, I just unfolded that. Similar to how the Siege one work, you have those 3 tabs that will connect there, and of course on the other side here. So let's do that first. And this can be a little tight at the beginning. I'm guessing because this is black plastic painted red. So and I will expect some paint chipping on those red tabs, which is fine because they won't be visible in robot mode or vehicle mode anyway, which you'll see later on. Sorry, hard to see on camera, hard to transform on camera, but yeah, just make sure that's there, make sure they're pegged together, very similar to the original. Now for the on the original release of this mode, what I would have done was connect there, but that is the first difference. So you don't connect this there, you actually connect this. So I'll show you how it's connected. You connect them together similar to Siege, but you don't connect them there. You actually connect this to the vehicle, so just connect it here. And as a guideline, make sure that tab is at the top and you have the details on the bottom. You have the hollow bits pointing upwards. So with that done, now is the little bit tricky part of connecting all of these together. It's not tricky because the instructions are hard, it's just lining up the stuff. So you have that tab that I pointed out earlier and the clip. It's not really a clip, it's more hooks, and they will connect that tab and that hook. Now this top part, we can actually do this in advance. I think there is that tab there, and there's this gap there, and there's that H-shaped tab there and the hole there. So you just align that and connect that together. Do the same on the other side just to get it ready. Okay, now let's do this as well. So these ones, now there are some videos that suggest you tab this here, right? So there is like that peg, and of course there's holes there, so you just peg that there, and that effectively covers up the hands. In my view, I've seen it, I've done it. It doesn't really help a lot. So for the purpose of the review, I'll just use the official transformation, which is basically tabbing that on that hole there as such. Okay, now last part is connecting these. Again, I don't know what those pegs are for now. They're definitely useless now. They could have shaved that off, but anyway, what we do is that hook and that tab, you connect one side first. I find it easier to just connect one side first and then accordion this in, do the other side. As you can see, mine has a bit of stress mark. I don't know if you can see that there, just because of that clip. So be careful of that clip, that might be something that will break. So yeah, now lastly, you do have those blue hooks there that will just rest here. So we just push that down. There you go. And of course, the final touches, for at least for the official transformation, you put that there. And of course, you don't have to do that, but that's the official transformation. And then you have these two missiles. Officially, they want it there, but no, we all know Magnus always has it at the front, so I'll just put it at the front. It's not much difference anyway. So yeah, that is Magnus in his Earth mode truck. So it's not a bad looking truck. The main issue I have with this is basically the Siege trailer, which means it's hampered unnecessarily, in my opinion. I mean, it's not bad looking per se. It can pass off as a, you know, a car carrier, but the only place you can actually put the cars will be on top here. So you can plop some cars there. But yeah, it's not a bad looking truck. The other thing is, you see there is now that space here, which does mean it looks like a truck pulling a trailer. But the bad part is it just accentuates the hands there. So in the original release of this mold, you know that this is all covered, and we'll compare that, which means the visible hands are the hands are not visible basically. But looking at the details, that was the panel that I told you didn't have a sticker. I put a sticker there. That looks a lot better. So if you want to imagine we bought this from the store, that will just be, you know, blue. So yep, I like the thick wheels at the back. So as you can see, the fat wheels there is really nice. The back is basically, you know, the same. That's a sticker as well that I put on. Now for the benefit of people from TCCA or has this sheet, I use that sheet there. And I think it's meant to have that. So this seems like it's meant to have a Autobot symbol there. That's because of the space. This one is actually a clean panel, a flat panel. So I think it's meant to have a sticker, as opposed to the other side, which has actual panel details. So you can't really put a sticker there. So I think they did that on purpose, but maybe to save money they didn't put a sticker. I don't know. So yeah, that's the truck mode. Now let's compare him with the other uses of this mode. Okay, so let's zoom out a little bit so you can see these three. So yeah, here he is. That's gonna be tough on the camera. Yep. So here he is with the other uses of the mode. Here we have Siege Prime or Siege Magnus. Here we have Galaxy Prime. And here we have the Earthrise Ultra Magnus. So yeah, very vastly different uses of the mode. So as you can see, this one is, you know, vastly different. So maybe no need to focus on that. Just wanted to show you how he scales with this one. There, you know, basically he's a bit longer, but that's because this one is a bit more integrated. The hands are hidden on this one, while this one is visible. Now focusing on just these two, you can see this is what I was telling you. So they made it so there is a gap here to evoke a truck pulling a trailer, while this one is a solid piece. But the benefit of that is you're hiding the hands here. So yeah, I wish they had retooled the trailer a little bit heavier, you know, just to make it look a lot less different. If this trailer wasn't really used for this mode initially, I think a lot of us wouldn't have minded it, but just because of that, feels like a lazy reuse, to be honest. This one is perfect use for that trailer, just because it evokes that single RID, I guess, RID version of Ultra Magnus. Correct me if I'm wrong. While this one, they're trying to evoke the more G1 Ultra Magnus. So yeah, not bad. Now there's another comparison I wanted to show you, and it's this one. And this is basically what I think is the best non-masterpiece version of the Ultra Magnus vehicle mode that we've seen. Let's just take this out of the put this out of the way. Best non-G1 Ultra Magnus vehicle mode that we've seen outside of Masterpiece in recent years, and that is this one. So aside from the cab, which is, you know, heavily stylized, I think this one is still the best Ultra Magnus truck mode, just because of all the functionality, you know, the actual place for the cars and the opening ramps and the lowering, you know, still the best. If you don't know, this is the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus, the Takara release of it. So yeah, Takara Legends Ultra Magnus. I bought this in Singapore, I don't know, 5 years ago. Still has a place in my collection. So yeah, we'll see him again in a bit. Okay, so it's been a long journey so far. Let's go to the best part of this figure, which is basically the combined robot mode. So let me just take out all of those guns and let's show you how to combine Ultra Magnus. So first off, we want to detach the trailer from the truck, and as I've said, there is a bit of stress marks on mine already just because of this tab, and that is common to my other Ultra Magnus as well, just because of, you know, how this thing works, my other versions of this mode rather. But what I do to try and minimize that is I actually try and unhook it instead of just pulling it across. So try to unhook it by pulling it up and over, similar here, you know. So just try and do it gently, as gentle as you can at least. And then let's remove this. So let's just take this apart to prepare it for combination mode. This one is a bit tight, so just wiggle it out. There, that bit is a bit tight. I'm sure it will get loose in time. It doesn't have to be that tight. Split this. Yep, and then we remove these and just leave it like these parts for a while. I'll show you how to transform them later on. So I start with this guy. Just go in reverse as I did earlier. So we split the legs, fold that down. You don't need to deploy the heel spur, and clip the arms, push it back a little bit, just a little bit, turn it around. Then we raise the, we leave the butt flap there, and then push it all the way, and then just turn around the arms, and there you go. Base, as close to base robot mode as we need to for this transformation. So first bit, take this belt crotch piece, lift it, pull it down, turn it around, lift it back up. So that is a change design. We'll compare that to the other Magnus later on. That front, that part is a different piece. So yeah, leave that there for a moment. Take the legs. Now what you do is you fold this, fold that, and then these will just peg on those two holes there. The Autobot symbol is visible there, but that's okay. Same with this guy. Fold that, fold that, fold that, fold that, and then peg that in. Those are the legs. So we can just attach these already, same way that we attach the other Ultra Magnus. So for your benefit, there is a tab there, and there is a hole there, and there is space for that, but that doesn't really tab. More rest, I guess, than anything else. So that's that. Now we take these. Now this is the same, I'll compare that again later on, but this is the same piece that we have from Siege, but it's clean. So that was one complaint I had with the Siege Magnus. They had the valve damage in the inside of the arms for some reason. So yeah, it pegs the same way. There is a hole there. There is a peg right there. And you just peg that there and close it up. Go. Let's do this one. So same way, you slide this over. And then try your best to peg that there. It rests there, but it doesn't really secure it as well as how it did in the original one. And let's do the other side quicker now, just to save time. This is gonna be a hell of a long video. Do that. As mentioned, I did put that Autobot symbol there. So if you have this figure, yours wouldn't have that Autobot symbol. As you can see, it's not symmetrical. This one has details. This one is flat, as I mentioned. which means it's a perfect place to put the Autobot symbol. And if you look at videos of Ultra Magnus, he did have the Autobot symbol on the left side in the combined armored up mode. So yep. Last bit, this, fold that, and see that those clips there will just clip on to his spine. So there will be some clearance issues. I don't know why they put that in. I think that is to make the base bot a little bit sleeker. Not that it helped, but that also hinders articulation. So such an annoying design choice. But anyway, try to clip that in there. So you won't be able to clip it straight on. You clip it a little bit higher than usual. And then you can push that down. But before you do, you align those tabs there to the gaps on the shoulders. So align that and then push it down. Push all of them down. And then there's these gaps on the front of the cab and the black tabs there. So just put that in. Almost there. Looking all Ultra Magnusy. We do have these classic shoulder missiles, which we will clip on or peg onto his shoulders. And then lastly, we do have the gun. So he doesn't have, I don't know if you've noticed, but he doesn't have these guns that came with the original Siege Magnus. And that is because they're not really meant for Ultra Magnus. They are more meant for this guy, Galaxy Prime. So those are Galaxy Prime guns that they chose to give Magnus. This guy doesn't have it, and well, definitely he doesn't need it anyway. But yeah, this is Ultra Magnus in his robot mode, and yeah, like I said, it's a lot more accurate to the G1. So first off, a lot less panel details. So as you can see, his paneling is a lot smoother, at least on the new parts. This one, since it's a reuse, still has a lot of the details. This one's smoother. This one is reused, but they made it all white to hide a little bit of the detail. But still, you know, this still has the details. They changed this panel. We'll show you that compared to the other one. And of course, his butt plate is different. So yeah, really nice looking Magnus. So let me compare him with the other uses of this mode. Okay, so let me just zoom out a little bit. So we have space. Here is Kingdom Magnus with Siege Magnus. So I'll just put this here just to show you these three different uses of the mode. This of course being Galaxy Prime. So yeah, this is extremely different, and just so you know where those guns are supposed to go. Now let's just focus on these two for a bit, just because they are the highlights, I believe. So focusing on the details, as I've said, the arms are the same mold. The front of the feet are the same molds. These panels are different. So, you know, even the inner panels are different. I think the back panels are the same, but the inner and outer panels on the legs are different. So you can see this one is more solid. Simplifying the details, I've said this one has a lot of those panels and broken up pieces, just, you know, to provide more details. Of course, the wheels we already saw was different as well. The chest on this one is more G1, while this one is a little bit more stylized, still, you know, stylized version of G1. So this is the more accurate Ultra Magnus version. The shoulders, lots of panel details and all that, and thinner pylons. This one has the thicker, more classic Ultra Magnus pylons, and as I've said, they are asymmetrical. And this one has the space for the Autobot symbol. This one has details, different shoulder cannons, as I mentioned. Now looking at the face, you know, that's the other highlight. This one definitely looks like a little bit more war-torn, a little bit more older Ultra Magnus with the visor and all that. This one just feels a little bit younger to me, which I guess makes sense, just because this is, you know, his version of him while he was on Cybertron, and this one is the version of him when he went to Earth. So yeah, but yeah, even the head sculpts are different. I love that this one has a visor, and it's hard to see, but he does have light piping. So as you can see, there is that clear plastic there at the back, so there is light piping, though a little bit hard to see. This one has that solid headpiece. So yeah, still but does it warrant to repurchase? I don't know. I mean, they're very similar in my opinion, so it really depends on who you ask. If this didn't go on sale, I might have just skipped him, but to be honest, if you really like your G1 Ultra Magnus to be as accurate as possible, this is the one to get. Oh, the different belt piece as well. So yeah, and then another one I wanted to show you, and the other one I wanted to show you is this one. He's quite a bit taller, as leader classes tended to be before. So this one was the Takara. I have the legs here. I have the feet correctly placed. So let me just raise the camera a little bit. So that is the Takara version of the Combiner Wars Ultra Magnus. So yeah, while the vehicle mode did evoke the original G1, the robot mode actually is closer to IDW. So you know, the longer pylons with the yellow details there, the hammer, the overall stylized design of the chest, that is IDW. And if you needed more proof, this one actually had a chamber for a rider. So if you followed your IDW, you know that the Ultra Magnus rendition of that was that he was actually just an armor for smaller robots to ride. Of course, this being the Takara version, this one had Alpha Trion, but the original Combiner Wars had Minimus Ambus. So yeah, just a fun little comparison there. I also wanted you to see him beside his nemesis. So he actually had two nemesi. I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. But in the G1 cartoon, his nemesis was Cyclonus. You know, part-time teammates. Well, not really teammates, more of, you know, alliance of convenience, I guess, and mostly enemies. So it's nice to see that they are about the same height. That's probably because of a Cyclonus' long head. But yeah, they did have that fight in the original G1, and they were standing side by side together. Of course, you can mistransform Cyclonus' legs to make him a bit taller, not by much, but you know, it's nice to see both of them together. We are getting a Galvatron as well in the Kingdom line, which I'm really hoping to get soon, and that Galvatron is basically his nemesis in the UK comics, I think. Another fun comparison, if you did follow the original cartoon, you know that he was murdered by this guy. Of course, this being a Titan's Return figure, they are wildly out of scale. So, but yeah, this is your Titan's Return 6-shot, the guy who killed him in the comics, in the G1. And of course, no review will be complete without the shot with the rest of the team. Of course, Optimus Prime is there as well, even if he dies because of this guy. And if you have the Power of Primes version, you can also use that as a stand-in while we wait for the Commander class Rodimus Prime. So yeah, I think that's a good stand-in for Rodimus Prime. Okay, so I really like how this one turned out. Like I said, this is the most G1 accurate version of Ultra Magnus that we've gotten outside of the Masterpiece and third party in like forever. That's not to say that is enough for you to choose this over the Siege and Netflix spoiler pack versions. If you have those, I'd say, you know, go look at some more reviews, try to see the minute details and decide for yourself. I wouldn't have picked this guy up personally if not for the sale. But now that I have him in hand, I'm really happy with how it turned out. So, you know, if you want like a really G1 accurate Ultra Magnus, then maybe it is worth to pick up. But otherwise, you know, you can stick with the Siege and Netflix versions. So yeah, that was the review. If you like that review, please do leave a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. As you can see, this is a very small channel, only 300 subscribers. So every like, every comment, every subscribe really does help. So yeah, thanks. So this has been Grimtrigger. This has been the awesome Ultra Magnus from the Kingdom line. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.